Ever tried closing your eyes and picturing something, maybe your breakfast table, like the 19th century scientist Galton suggested, or your childhood bedroom? Turns out, not everyone can do that. Some people have a condition called aphantasia, where they have no visual imagery at all, no mind's eye to see with. On the flip side, there are folks with hyperphantasia, whose mental images are so vivid they're almost like real life. This study by Milton and colleagues is the first deep dive into the brains and minds of people with these extreme forms of visual imagery. They wanted to see how aphantasia and hyperphantasia affect memory, personality, and even show up in brain scans. They gathered 3 groups of people, those with aphantasia, those with hyperphantasia, and a control group with average imagery skills. They gave them a battery of tests, from standard memory tasks to questionnaires about their personality and even brain scans while they were resting or trying to visualize things. So, what did they find? First off, people with aphantasia and hyperphantasia were pretty similar to the control group on basic memory tests. But when it came to autobiographical memory, remembering events from their own lives, there was a big difference. People with hyperphantasia remembered the most details, followed by the control group, and then the aphantasia group. The same pattern showed up when they were asked to imagine future events or just general scenarios. This makes sense, right? If you can't picture things in your mind, it's probably harder to remember past events or imagine new ones in detail. The researchers also found some personality differences. People with aphantasia tended to be more introverted, while those with hyperphantasia were more open to new experiences. And interestingly, aphantasia seemed to be linked to traits associated with autism. Now, let's get to the brain scans. When the participants were just chilling, not doing any particular task, the scans showed stronger connections between the visual parts of the brain and the prefrontal cortex, the brain's command center, in people with hyperphantasia compared to those with aphantasia. And when they were actively trying to visualize famous faces and places, the hyperphantasia and control groups showed more activity in a part of the brain called the anterior parietal lobe than the aphantasia group. This area is thought to be involved in visual attention, so it seems like people with aphantasia might have a harder time focusing their mental gaze when trying to visualize. So, what does all this mean? Well, it confirms that aphantasia and hyperphantasia aren't just subjective experiences, they have real impacts on memory, personality, and brain function. It also suggests that there are different ways our brains can process information. Some of us rely heavily on visual imagery, while others might use more verbal or abstract thinking. This study opens up a whole new world of questions about the mind's eye. How does aphantasia affect other aspects of life, like creativity or relationships? What are the genetic and environmental factors that contribute to these differences in imagery? And could we potentially train people to improve their visualization skills? There's still so much to explore, but this study is a fascinating first step into understanding the amazing diversity of human imagination.